Hey gang, Jeff Stone here with another episode of MagicReviewed.com. We're looking at Out of Sight, Out of Your Mind by Gary Jones and the Magic Towel. So, if you're not familiar already with the effect by Vernon called Out of Sight, Out of Mind, A, go read a book, please. B, that's what this effect basically is. Different method entirely, well, mostly different method, but that's basically what you're getting. Now, the Vernon effect, borrowed shuffle deck, you show the spectator cards and you're looking away, you don't even know what those cards are, you really legitimately don't. You keep showing cards until they say they've seen one, and then the cards go back in the deck shuffled, whatever, and then you show cards again, or actually you don't show cards, you start feeling cards as you deal them out, and you then divine, like, oh, I think your card is this card here. What was the name of your card? They say Four of Hearts. You turn the card over and it's the Four of Hearts. That is the Vernon effect. Can be done with a regular borrowed deck that's not gimmicked whatsoever. This version comes with a deck. I will not show you what the deck is or how it's gimmicked, but basically it's a modification of a Quran deck. It's very similar to a Quran deck. It's a Quran style deck, we'll say that. I don't know if you... Anyway, I don't know what the official technical difference is between decks like this and the original Quran. I don't know that history well enough, but conceptually it's the same idea as a Quran deck. So what you'll see here, though, I don't know if I can get this on camera or not. First of all, the deck doesn't look new. Secondly, they're not cut the same. So my guess is that Gary Jones and a few guys got 1,000 decks of cards and they sat down in their basement or something and put these decks together, which nothing wrong with that. But one of the problems with doing that, I guess there is something wrong with that. One of the problems is because they didn't all come from the same cut, like typically a deck of cards all has the same exact dimensions and cut, they feel differently. They don't quite handle the same. The little springs and riffles are more clumpy. That was actually a decent one there, but they don't feel quite the same. And so it doesn't, that can be, tricky or uncomfortable in performance depending on how you handle cards. But you can, I can see different colors on the edges here, which I don't mind that. But the handling of the deck, it's not as smooth as a deck that has been cut from one, that has the same cut. So there's a little bit of a product quality issue there. Not enough that I would say, no, you can't use the deck. I mean, it's obviously usable. And so you combine some very basic sleight of hand with this deck, and you can do that same Vernon trick in a much, much easier fashion. Not that Vernon's was hard, but this one's, a lot easier. So the question is, are you willing to dedicate a deck to that effect? That's up to you. And so whatever. So a couple things about the ad copy. It says that, a card is merely thought of, which is true. You show them the deck and they can think of any card that they see. Then it says, without asking a question, you deal down to their card. That's also true. But so you've dealt down and you've stopped at a point where you're clearly suggesting the card is here. But before you can turn it over to reveal it, you have to ask them what their card is. So you still have to ask a question, what's your card? That's the method if you're doing it with two spectators who each pick a card, two selections. If you're using just one spectator, you also have to figure out the color. Now, again, the way they say that is that you can do it without asking. It's sort of without asking. So basically what happens is you ask another. This is a play that's been used by others. I mean, this was in the Mother of All Book Tests, was in the write-up for that, on a way to get some information you need. But you ask another spectator, hey, what color do you think he picked? Or send the color that you're thinking of to that other spectator over there. Then you ask the spectator, what color did you receive? What color do you think he's picking? And the spectator says red. Or the guy that did not pick the card says, I think he chose a red card. So you didn't ask the spectator a question, right? Well, you still got to turn to the spectator and say, was he right? Was it red? You still have to know that. So you still have to ask a question. So that aside, if you don't mind that, and I don't personally, but I just want to be clear, when you read the ad copy, you might not fully grasp that. Last but not least, I don't know what it is with Magic Towel Productions, but the sound is always crap. And I had to put on my headphones, which, let me show you my headphones. These things, they cover my ears. I can't hear anything when I'm wearing those. They're big headphones. I had to put those on. They're wireless too. I love that. And I had to crank the volume all the way up. And it was then like, not bearable, but, workable, doable. But it wasn't great even then. Also, the lighting, just not great. And there's quite a few places where he's trying to show you something in the deck, and he says for the camera to come in. The camera comes in, but doesn't get anywhere near close enough to show you what he's trying to show you. So there's a few quirky things like that in the production and the product quality, and just minor things in the ad copy. Nowhere did I think they were being dishonest in the ad copy. I don't think that at all, but I just think you need some clarity, which I've given you, hopefully. So that's it. 3.5 stars. Stone status of gem. It's time for you to like the video, subscribe to my channel, share it to your peeps, and listen to the random iTunes song of the moment, which is... Oh man, we gotten everything this week. Fingerprints by Patsy Cline. We've had some Bon Jovi, some Metallica, some Fozzy, not Ozzy. Fozzy. I don't know if that stands for fake Ozzy or what. Some good stuff. Then we got some classic country here with Fingerprints by Patsy Cline. For those of you new to my channel, I grew up on classic country. That's what I listened to as a kid. And I was listening to stuff when I was a kid that was old when my dad was a kid. So I grew up on this kind of stuff. I absolutely love it. It's a big chunk of my playlist. So that's it. Fingerprints, Patsy Cline. Tune in next time, folks, where we review the what's the official title of the book test? The Jekyll and Hyde book test. There we go. The Jekyll and Hyde book test by Scott Olgard and Luke Jonas. That's up next, folks. Until then, thanks for watching. We'll see you then. Peace out.